Ladies and gentlemen, people are very angry about politics. Quote, "You're awake right now. You're not dead, and you haven't gone to hell." Unquote. Said Rachel Maddow, a former host on CNN following the 2016 election. Donald Trump had similar words following the 2020 election. Quote, "You're not going to have a country anymore." Unquote. Late night host Kimmel wept after the 2024 election. Quote, "It was a terrible night for women and children, for poor people, for the middle class, for democracy and decency." Unquote. Here, Rachel Maddow, Donald Trump, and Jimmy Kimmel made sensational claims. They didn't make these claims to resolve a problem. Instead, they wanted drama, and they achieved it by displaying shock and anger for the cameras. This is false outrage. Even though false outrage is designed for the cameras, it influences others. Actually, it doesn't influence others, it infects them. False outrage is a disease. We'll start with a diagnosis of this disease in our culture, move on to its symptoms, and conclude with the cure. If American culture could walk into a doctor's office, it would come away with a severe diagnosis of false outrage. Outrage is everywhere. A study in Science magazine by Killian McLaughlin and her colleagues found that, quote, "social media posts that express outrage are more likely to be liked and shared more, training users to express outrage and ranking algorithms to amplify it." Unquote. For example, Benny Johnson, a conservative podcaster, uses false outrage to attract views. One of his recent videos featured an AI-generated thumbnail of California Governor Gavin Newsom holding a burning dollar bill as he angrily fumed. Behind him sat the Hollywood sign, which was also on fire. Or take an AI-generated thumbnail of Donald Trump in Eskimo clothing, screaming along with Vladimir Putin? This doesn't make any sense. But Benny Johnson has 15 million followers. Unfortunately, false outrage doesn't just stay online. Humans copy the behaviors and worldviews of those around them. And because talk show hosts and media figures consume a significant portion of many people's days, their worldview seeps into the culture. Unfortunate statistics demonstrate this. According to the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, a free speech organization, quote, "This year, more than 2/3 of college students, 68%, said that shouting down a speaker on campus is at least rarely acceptable," unquote. The report noted that these numbers have risen significantly over the past few years. I've experienced false outrage in public. 3 years ago, my grandparents and I went to the March for Life in Washington, D.C. After the march ended, I kept my poster as a souvenir. A woman saw me carrying my poster and walked over, began screaming at me. Likely, her beliefs came from political commentators online, but they caused her to take action in the real world. She believed yelling at 14-year-olds makes you a good person. Now that we've diagnosed our culture with false outrage, let's talk about the symptoms. Those would be an inability to have constructive conversations and a major side effect of believing that false outrage makes us good people. As writers for The Minimalist, a blog that encourages simple living, put it, quote, "We've all gotten offended without asking ourselves why, and then use our fake outrage to cast judgment upon others. It helps us feel better. And pretending to be offended is much easier than attempting to breach the walls of introspection." Unquote. When we pretend to be outraged, we don't have to reason through our beliefs. Piers Morgan, the very British host of a political show with 4 million followers, uses false outrage to avoid hard questions. In 2017, when a guest on his show questioned Piers' stance on gun policy, he responded, "How dare you? his face tightening for the cameras. When his guest answered, "Well, Piers, you can keep saying that, but my point still stands," Piers didn't respond. "Again, how dare you?" he answered. Nothing Piers Morgan said advanced the debate. Instead, he used false outrage to shield himself from hard questions, because outrage is easier than analysis. I've seen this personally too. I was sitting in on a committee hearing at the US House of Representatives, just observing, as several experts explained developments in nuclear technology. Most of the congresspeople did what you'd expect. They politely asked questions. But one congresswoman decided to yell at the experts. She was angry about nuclear contamination in her district. Ignoring the committee chairman, she went overtime, outraged, finally storming out of the room. She missed out on an opportunity to learn about nuclear power because she was so busy being angry. So there's another symptom. Humans express outrage because it makes them feel better. That's crazy. Unfortunately, that's what the research shows. A study by psychologist Joshua Grubbs and his colleagues found that public figures express outrage at our enemies so that their group applauds them. When they condemn some far-off event, they receive praise for their bravery and courage. Stephen Colbert, another late-night host, has done exactly that. After Donald Trump held a rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City, Colbert said, quote, "Well, I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but in 1939 they held a pro-Nazi rally there," unquote. With this remark, Colbert insinuated that Trump is Nazi adjacent. Having created a straw man out of Trump, an evil Nazi, Colbert spared no words, swearing at Trump live on national television. His statements make sense because his worldview treats outrage as virtuous. Author Glenn Beck describes the human effect of false outrage in his book, Addicted to Outrage. Quote, "It deprives human beings of genuine humanity, replacing instead with an outwardly facing caricature of a virtuous human being wrapped around a rotting corpse." Unquote. This worldview has morality backwards. False outrage replaces good deeds with twisted and outraged words. The culture celebrates false outrage. Politicians and media figures promote it. They don't deserve the blame. But their worldview does deserve the blame. Their worldview is false. Fake outrage is not a virtue. Moral grandstanding is not a good deed. The moral confusion has eroded the genuine compassion of millions and transformed it into outrage. But I wouldn't have accomplished anything if I told you to be outraged at false outrage. That would be a lame cure to this sickness. I used to be addicted to outrage. I was angry at every news story. I debated every little detail. Thankfully, I was convicted after reading Glenn Beck's book, Addicted to Outrage. I realized what I had been doing. Quote, "Set your mind on things above, not on earthly things," says Colossians 3 verse 2. I made a pledge to stop being outraged at earthly things. Imagine if everyone stopped practicing false outrage. If everyone stopped being so angry, if we calmly discussed difficult questions and stopped believing our outrage makes us good people. That's the world I want to live in. And the world is only possible if you help to build it. To take a quote from Darth Vader in Star Wars, completely out of context, quote, "With our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy," unquote. You won't improve the world by being angry. You will make the world a better place if you have calm discussions, actually do good deeds, and focus on something higher than the next controversy. False outrage isn't worth it. Life is too beautiful to waste being angry.